Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your entrepreneurship tutor, Professor Henry Bwisa. Today, I want to give a very short lecture on the unit HEIT 2402, Technology Transfer and Innovation. This is a Bachelor of Business Innovation and Technology Management course. This course unit at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. And I am your lecturer for today, Professor Henry Bwisa of the Department of Entrepreneurship, Technology, Leadership, and Management. This course was designed to provide an understanding of the role of technology transfer in innovation. It has 4 specific objectives, and one is to discuss the process of technology transfer, to examine the various models of technology transfer, to assess the factors and environment that influences the technology transfer, and to recognize the relationship between tacit knowledge, technology transfer, and innovation. So, as a way of introduction, let us provide the answer to the question, what is technology? Yes, various definitions exist. There's one that says it is the application of scientific knowledge to the practical aims of human life. And technology has got its components. Look at the first row. We can have hardware technology, we can have software technology, and we can have systemware technology. Hardware technology are those physical embodiments, like the tools, the equipment, those are hardware technology. Software technology are the skills to make the hardware work. Yes, you can have a tool, you can have a hammer, you can have a car, but you may not know how to use that technology. That is software technology. The skills to make the hardware work. They are split into 2. The lifeware, that means the technical and management skills. And the innovationware, that means the know-how to improve, add value, or innovate. And finally, we have the systemware component of technology, which is the infrastructure to make hardware work, like the institutions, the legal framework, etc., etc. You can see from this elaborate definition of technology that we mostly know hardware technology. We do not, we have not popularized, created awareness or enough an awareness about software and the systemware. For example, we have had cases in developing countries, including Kenya, where you import a hardware technology, but we don't have the skills to operate that technology. So we have the technology there. Cases are known where technologies have been imported and they've gathered dust in offices because we have not yet even trained the people to operate them. So the software technology lacks. The legal aspects of technology, the systemware, is also not well developed in many developing countries. The infrastructure to support the technology. There are times where foreigners have come to Kenya and to other developing countries and applied some legal jargon and legal arguments and patented our technologies and gone away with them. So we need to understand technology not just from the hardware aspect of view, but also from the software and the systemware. Now we want to talk about technology transfer. Technology transfer, which is sometimes abbreviated TT, refers to the process of conveying results stemming from scientific and technological research to the marketplace and to wider society, along with the associated skills and procedures and is as such an intrinsic part of the technological innovation process. You can see the diagram on your right. We are saying the road to technology transfer is not fast, neither is it simple. You can see from out there the idea, the technology, and the road is running, the car is there, but this road is not smooth. This road is not fast. It's not simple before we get now the technology transferred down there. Let's go again and look at technology transfer. It means the flows of technological knowledge to markets. The movement of science and technology from one group to another group. The transfer of hardware objectives, that is traditionally. It often involves information. You have seen software technology, like even computer software, programs, manuals, or a new idea. And the United Nations says it is the transfer of systematic knowledge for the manufacture of a product or a provision of service. So that is yet another definition of technology transfer. Let's now discuss the process of technology transfer. Yes, it is a process. You can see invention disclosure, assessment, protection, marketing, licensing, and financial return. So it starts with something new is created. That's the invention. Something new is created. Some innovation is made. Research and technology, research and development brings out something new. That's the beginning. And then there is the confidential document which explains the invention. That's what we call invention disclosure. So after you have invented or innovated the technology, you now write about it and you create that document which is confidential, explaining the invention, how it works, and so on and so forth. So after something new has been created, it is explained in a document. And then that document may be submitted for assessment. So the invention is assessed and evaluated. Is it really an invention? Is it really new? Because there are criteria that we use, that are used to say, yes, it's new or not. For example, is it adding value? Is it making work easier? Is it useful? Has it comparative advantage over the existing ones? All that is assessed, and when it is found that yes, it's an invention, then stage 4, granting of property right by a sovereign authority to an innovator or inventor. For example, in Kenya, we have KIPI, Kenya Industrial Property Institute, which will grant protection. We call it intellectual property, IP. The effort the inventor put in. Someone should not just come and copy it or pirate it. The inventor has his intellect that went into that job. It has to be protected. So when it is assessed and found that it's an innovation, then the granting of property, the patenting, so to speak, is now concluded. And when you have patented your project, your innovation, then you start Stage 5, promoting it and selling the patented invention, marketing it. You are now marketing it. Even if someone sees it and tries to copy it, you already have the patent. Therefore, you can sue or you can claim those royalties. And now, after you have marketed, you can now decide to license it. You do an agreement to allow a party to use or even modify or resell the invention. So now, that is now the transfer comes in now. You are now licensing someone, selling to someone, and therefore the technology is transferred from the inventor to the user, like we hinted in our definition. And of course, this is when you either get the profit or loss, the returns. So those are 7 typical stages of the technology transfer process. Invent something, explain it in a document, that means disclosure. Let it be evaluated by the people who experts, and then it is granted protection again by an authority, and then you market. When it's now known, it is now in the public domain, you can now decide to make an agreement with somebody, write it, license it or so, and then you start enjoying your financial returns. This is another model which is the same, but it has more stages, starting with research and discovery, then invention and disclosure, then evaluation, or what we shall call patent review committee, evaluates it to see whether it's really new, whether it's an invention, whether it's not repeating something else, and then protect intellectual property, and then marketing. Then you select a partner, negotiate and license. Then you commercialize the products or services, benefit to society or revenue, and of course, now the returns. So this is, maybe have just a few more stages. This is yet another one. You can pause your video and look at it. It's not very different from the others, only that it has now got, like, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stages. The first one had 7 stages. Some are just actually merged. So I gave you the 3. So you can, at any one time, pause your video, look at it, study it, and you can, each stage, you can elaborate, look at it. Just Google the term and go in depth and understand the stages a little elaborately. Now let's examine the various models of technology transfer. Again, if you Google models of technology transfer, you will get some information. But basically, we have what we call vertical transfer. Vertical transfer means transfer of equipment, transfer of hardware technology. It carries no risk to the provider. It gets quick results. It's one way from the provider to the other. Just dependent risk. It's simple and linear. As you can see in the diagram on the right, the buyer, the technology provider sends equipment to the technology recipient. This is a simple model, vertical model of just getting the equipment, selling to somebody. But there is also what we call horizontal. This is knowledge transfer. It is longer, complex process. Its investment requires on both sides. The provider, there could be multiple. There is loss of provider control. partnership or joint venture based, and it's long-term. You can see there are provider A and provider B. You can see technology moves from provider B to provider A to provider B, but also it can move from provider B to provider A, like what goes on in what we call the North-North technology transfer model, when one developed country can send technology to another developed country, and in return, that other developed country can send, let's say Japan sends cars to the US, but probably the US will send some industrial equipment to Japan. So there is mutual benefit. So it can be equipment, it can be skills, it can be knowledge. We have students moving from China to go to study in USA, students moving from USA to go to study in China. Those are now the horizontal, and you can see it is like knowledge transfer. It's longer, complex, and so on and so forth. There are mechanisms of technology transfer. It can be public-private partnerships. When a government department partners with private department. For example, in Kenya, we have what we call parastatals, Kenya Industrial Estates, Kenya Wine Qual, the wine agent, and many others. We can also have government co-financed developments, where a government co-finances some development, let's say at the university. And we also have private to private partnerships. SmithKline and Beecham, two private entities get into it together and they transfer technology from one to another. We have joint venture businesses with business fit. That is an example of the private to private. The university private partnerships, like targeted R&D collaborations, but we also have technology intermediaries, the NGOs, the government, and all that. So these are some of the mechanisms that technology can be transferred. You can see this picture. Please pause your video and scrutinize the words written on this slide. We have many, industries, universities, we have contracts, we have patents, funding, licensing, technology transfer agents. This is a whole complex of means of technology transfer. Study it, get an elaboration from literature, and internalize the whole process. Yes, the methods of technology transfer, we have listed it 1 to 13, starting from the most complex, like total project contracting. When we have a contractor coming in a country to totally start a project, that's also technology transfer, pretty complex. Total process contracting, major process contracting. It may be a total process or part of the process contracted. That is also a method of transferring technology. When foreigners come to build buildings in our country, for example, when they come here to make beer, for example, all those processes, that is a way of transferring technology. Patent contracts. As we go down, trademark agreements, it becomes least complex. For example, number 13, personal contracts. So, again, pause your video and look at that list, the whole list from 1 out there up to 13. These are some of the methods of transferring technology. Now, let us assess the factors and the environment that influences the technology transfer. Remember, I'm making a lecturate. I'm just creating an awareness, introducing the whole concept to you. You can get more from reading literature. Yes, factors that influence strategies of technology transfer. Yes, one, it is the receiving country, the characteristics, the investment policy, the technical absorptive capacity that within the receiving countries will actually influence the strategy of transferring. Now, the transferer characteristics, the person who is transferring, the form, size, global strategy, culture, and geographical distance, all that will also dictate the influence the strategies for technology transfer. Now, the technology itself, the age of the technology, the sophistication of these are just three of the factors that actually influence the mode of strategies that we can use for technology transfer. Look at there again. Technology selection, transfer, and diffusion depends on a number of factors. You can see out there the user, the market, the transferer, the transfer itself, the policy, the social and cultural aspect, the technology itself. So these are factors, that will influence the transfer. The user characteristic, for example, the income of the user, the education of the user, the assets that the user has will also dictate how to transfer that technology. The development of the markets, the availability of technologies, the demand and supply will also affect the method of transfer, And so these are clusters of the methods or the factors that will dictate how to transfer the technology. So we may want to see if Japan is transferring to USA, the method might be different from Japan transferring to Kenya. South Africa transferring to Zambia will also, all those factors, even the geographical location, will have an influence on the method and even the rules of transfer. And now, as we come to the end of our lecture, let's recognize the relationship between tacit knowledge, technology transfer, and innovation. Yes, we have two basic forms of knowledge. We have what we call explicit knowledge, which is also known as expressive knowledge. This is knowledge that can be readily articulated, codified, stored, and accessed. It can be easily transmitted to others. Most forms of explicit knowledge can be stored in certain media. Explicit knowledge is often seen as complementary to tacit knowledge. The most common form of explicit knowledge are the manuals, the documents, the procedures, the books, the how-to videos, and all this. It is much easier, very easy to transfer this, because just send a book, send a manual, and that's it. That is explicit knowledge. Knowledge that has been documented in secondary, aspects, written in books, in manuals, and all that. Then we have what we call tacit knowledge. This is knowledge that is garnered from personal experience and context. It is the information that, if asked, would be the most difficult to write down, articulate, or present in a tangible form. Tacit knowledge is uncodified and kept in human brains. It is knowledge of experience and body. For example, some examples of daily activities that and the tacit knowledge are, when you ride a bike, that knowledge, you may not very easily describe you lift the left foot and the right, but it is knowledge in you. You know it is tacit. Playing the piano, for example, there are people who can even shut their eyes and play their piano. That is tacit knowledge. Driving a car, yes, you can learn it, but it is like tacit. Hitting a nail with a hammer, you are building something. That knowledge that you are using to hit, you are not going to read it from a book. It is in your hand, in your brain, putting together pieces of complex jigsaw puzzle, interpreting complex statistical equation. If you can Google that author, 2014, he will elaborate a little more about tacit knowledge. So those are the two types of knowledge. Explicit, which is written in documents, in books. Tacit, which is in the body, which is in the knowledge of somebody, which is you cannot touch. It is experience found in somebody. So the knowledge transfer process will become with the person who is transferring the knowledge. We call it transferer. They hold knowledge, and that knowledge may be explicit or tacit. Now, for explicit, the channels of transfer are like conferences, meetings, seminars, training sessions. All that is how we can transfer explicit knowledge. But for tacit knowledge, it will be like on-job training. You are being trained as you do. Or OJT, as you put it. Telephonic communication. Social occasions. You go somewhere and you learn the culture of some other group, how they are behaving. All those you are learning. And that's how you transfer that tacit technology. Meetings at work. So all those are the two main categories of knowledge, and all are actually now reach the transferee, whoever is receiving the knowledge. So those are the channels of doing knowledge transfer. And now I had talked about some horizontal technology transfer. I want to collapse it into some political economics of technology transfer. Let's start. We have what we call a north-north model of technology transfer. We have two developed countries, the US and the Japan. US sends technology, let's say industrial machines, to Japan, call it technology one. And the Japan sends money to US. In other words, it buys the technology from the US. But Japan can also send technology like its cars, small engine cars because of the consumption. And again, the US will buy that with it. So money, there are two ways. Technology from one developed country to another, and it's paid for. Then the reverse, it's like the law of comparative advantage. One country specializes in producing certain technology, which it then sends to the next country and that exchange. So these countries are developing. They are supporting each other. They support each other in terms of technological base. They are not dependent on any. Now let us introduce a less developed country, Kenya. Kenya will get a loan from US for which to use to pay for technology from Japan. So the technology now comes from Japan to Kenya, but you remember Kenya had borrowed. So Kenya is paying interest back to the US. You guessed it right. Kenya is a dollar sink economy. It must pay for the loan that it took to buy the technology, Therefore, that technology may be working. The technology from Japan is being used in Kenya, but to benefit the people in America. That is the political economics of it. And if we can understand this, then we ask yourself, this Kenya is a dollar-sink economy. What challenges? Technology management, how can we manage the imported technology so that we can pay that interest and still develop or build our economy? That is something that we should be thinking about. Universities in Kenya and in the developing countries and institutions, can we eliminate the T3? Why should we import from Japan? Can we try to generate technology at home so that we eliminate this? These are the challenges. These are the challenges our politicians, our leaders should be addressing, our universities, so that we address this political economy of technology transfer. And now for my students, this is assignment for your examination. In groups of not more than 3, identify an organization which may include formal or informal businesses in the university environs. The Juakali, the Mamamboga, businesses, churches, organizations. Then study the organization that you have identified and go further and identify a problem that that organization faces. Then design an innovative solution for that problem, innovation, and then transfer that solution to the organization. Make sure that solution reaches the organization. That is your examination. Make a video explaining what the problem in the organization was, how you identified it, how you went about designing the solution, and a demonstration of that solution. Minus that, you are not passing this exam. Now, the problem could be lack of appropriate record keeping by the illiterate grain sellers. Yes, in class you have been taught accounting, bookkeeping, double entry, but that illiterate mamamboga who is selling grains doesn't know how to do that double entry, bookkeep, but it needs to keep records. So can you come up with an innovative way to help these illiterate traders also keep their records? The double entry that we're giving you at the university level may not be applicable. They will not even understand it. So it's you to come up with an innovation that addresses that. It could be insecurity. Like we have a lot of our ladies, our girls at university being, you have seen it. People approach them. Are they secure? Can you come up with a technology that improves their securities? The smuggling, the muggings, and all that. It could be poor marketing approaches. There are people out there, even those who roast maize. How do they market? They just sit there and the market costs to eat. Can we maybe come up with a solution to that problem? It could be lack of appropriate value addition methods. We have seen farmers. When there's glut, there are many mangoes in the market, many bananas in the market, they go to waste, and therefore poverty. How can you come up with a solution to these value addition methods? Problems. It could be heavy manual labor. People are working using manual labor, which is heavy. How can we make that work easier? It could be anything else. The bottom line is that start the organization, your choice, informal, formal, look at a problem, probably that is retarding its progress, design the solution to it, and do that video explanation and all that, present it, write a project document on it, plus the video, and hand the solution to the organization that you studied. Good. I hope you have enjoyed this lecturette, and now back to you. I'm waiting to get your solutions. Thank you.